All right, welcome to the Lowdown, brought to you by Unibet. I'm Dev Sahni, and joining me today is a man who everyone wants a piece of right now. They want to see what he thinks about the events that took place at the weekend and where the heavyweight land lies. It is, of course, Hall of Fame boxing promoter Frank Warren. Frank, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Dan? I'm better after being at Arsenal yesterday.
Well, look, they're finally winning, so well done. That's something, huh?
It was. No, it was quite good to watch.
Let's talk about Saturday night. What happened? Oleksandr Usyk defeated Anthony Joshua. He became the unified world heavyweight champion. I've seen a few comments from you, TalkSport, Sportsmail. Talk to me. What did you think of what happened? Where did it go wrong for Joshua? Where did it go so right for Usyk?
Well, I think, in my column, and obviously I was asked a few times before the fights what my view were, and I felt that AJ would be too big and too strong, and if he imposed his advantages on Usyk, it'd be tough for Usyk. But then as I've always said, that Usyk was a superb cruiserweight champion, an excellent boxer, and I always said that I felt if he was there at the end, he would win on points. By the fact he was there at the end, he would outbox him, and that's how it turned out to be. But I don't know where it went wrong. I mean, when I looked at him going to the ring, all the, and listen, we're promoters, so we've all done the fireworks, we've all done the NAS entrances and all those things over the years. But I was looking at all the fireworks going off and everything, and that's great for the fans. But what I was looking at is watching AJ, and I was very surprised the way he was going over to fans and high-fiving them and kiss somebody. And that, for me, of a fight that magnitude, you'd be more focused on your job, and maybe with a benefit of hindsight, looking back on that didn't bode too well. And the start of the fight, he didn't do what I thought he'd do, and I thought Usyk would work to get under his jab, because his advantages are he's much bigger, he's got a longer jab, so you want to keep the guy on the end of it, and let your right hand go. So you're using all your physical attributes, and he wasn't doing that. In fact, he was getting out jabbed. He was fighting him on the outside. Usyk. He was on the outside, and he was out jabbing him. And for a while, Joshua wasn't even throwing any big shots, and it was like he was very apprehensive. And I think I see what George Foreman and Lennox Lewis, both their comments after the fight was that this guy didn't look like he wanted to be in there, and that's how it seemed to me. He didn't want to, especially when you come to the latter rounds, where they must have told him he was behind on points, and he didn't step up. He didn't, it weren't like, I'm going to sort of shit or bust, for want of a better phrase. He just didn't do that. I think about, when I think about Anthony Yarde out in Russia, that round, he knew he had, that round, he wouldn't give it everything. He never did that. There was never that moment in the fight for him. And that's what I felt it should have been. And he didn't do anything different from round 1 to round 12. He didn't do anything any different. There was no change of tactics or anything. It was the same thing every round. And basically, Usyk boxed extremely well. And I don't want to take nothing away from him. And I'll tell you what, a person who's really being overlooked, of course, Usyk done the business, but Lomachenko, the trainer.
Papachenko.
That was excellent. Yeah, you know what I mean? That was excellent tactics. He's obviously a very, very good trainer, and he's obviously very good at teaching, as is proven with his son, who I think up to probably about 18 months ago was the best fighter in the world. He's he's an exceptional trainer who teaches his guys how to box, and that's what they did. And it's always said a good boxer. There's a couple of adjectives there. A good boxer, in my opinion, will always beat a big puncher, because that's what judges are there for. You wouldn't need judges otherwise. But a good big one should always beat a good little one. Mm-hmm. Joshua weren't a good big one, and he was an exceptional little one.
Well, you talk about how he didn't, fully go for it. I think even Dillian Whyte's come out and he said, he didn't put it all on the line. But you go back to the Klitschko fight. He overcame adversity in that fight. He got knocked down. He came back, and he really, put it all on the line. Is this something that has happened in recent years, where maybe he doesn't have that confidence in his chin anymore?
Well, it does. I mean, big punches, when you're throwing big punches, you expose yourself. You let that big right hand go. As you're letting it go, your chin's there. You're liable for the counter. and he's wobbled in a lot of fights. I mean, the Ruiz fight, we all know what happened there, but the rematch in the 4th round, he got clipped. He went on the back foot after he got clipped. And, Ruiz, fast hands, but a second fight couldn't move his feet. I mean, we all know he didn't train it. I mean, that is what it is. Povetkin, again, old guys. And you look at it and you just think look, he's a guy that the British public have really got behind in probably not more than any fighter I've seen in a long, long time. Put their hard-earned cash into him, watching him live and watching him on pay-per-view, supported him. They've done that, the British public. And you're expecting a bit more out of him. You're expecting, I expected more from him. And I thought, I was texting Tyson and we were talking during the fight. And like, Tyson's like, same as me, you're being sort of selfish now. You're seeing a massive big payday go out the window. Massive big payday going out the window. And the guy, he just didn't seem to, I don't know, it just didn't seem to worry. And he was talking afterwards about, a serious eye injury. I mean, look, no one had a more serious eye injury than Daniel Dubois, and he soldiered on for quite a few rounds with it. That's a fact of life. And it's for me, it's I think what Dillian, I'm not a big fan of Dillian, and he's not a big fan of mine, but we agree on something there. You're a warrior. Warriors go and fight.
You mentioned Tyson Fury there. Obviously, you were in touch with him on the night, and you both talked about how that's a big payday that's gone away. But has it gone away, Frank? I mean, it seems to have gone away with all the belts on the line. But he's a great voluntary defence, perhaps at some point, right?
Well, look, I agree with what you're saying there, Dev. The only problem you're going to be with that is what they're going to be like, all the percentages, who gets what, who gets, and so forth. But of course, it's still a big fight. I mean, it is a big fight. But you wanted that history-making fight, didn't you? You wanted those 4 belts. I'm saying all this. I've got to hope and I'm sure he will, but I'm hoping Tyson to come through on the night. I mean, anything can happen in heavyweight boxing. You've seen it, but he's, I expect Tyson to come through. But excuse me, I think it's sad for British boxing. I think it's really sad that we just didn't, that the fight for the 4 belts is, cannot happen now.
Well, I'll come back to Tyson if we've got time. I just want to bring Joe Joyce into this now. He was WBO number 2 heading into the, as soon as that first bell rang, I guess he went up and he's the next mandatory, right? What happens next with Joe Joyce?
Well, it depends when the mandatory is due, but he is the mandatory. There's no doubt about that. He is the mandatory. I mean, if you remember, the WBO put out Usyk against Joe for the interim title. And then because of Tyson's arbitration here ruling, it got changed. Joe's there ready to fight. We've got to keep him busy, and I want to get him in, obviously get him in there. And I think him and Usyk would be a great fight. Be a great fight for him. Fantastic fight for him.
And look, Joe's dimensions are similar to Anthony Joshua, but he has come forward all the time. And look, he might have the best chin in all of boxing. He's taking clumps from big heavies like Daniel Dubois and Carlos Takam. He's not going to be second-guessing shots from Oleksandr Usyk, right?
Well, I think the thing about Usyk as well is that, I don't know if he's brought the power up. He said after the fight that he didn't go for the knockouts. He was instructed to box. But the fact of the matter is he had him in trouble a couple of times, certainly in the last moments of the fight. I think it was the second round he clipped him. He caught him with a good shot. It would be a really good fight for him and Joe. I mean, the styles will make it a good fight, because Joe, he'll hunt him down. He's a big guy, as you say. He's got a good chin and he can bang himself. One thing for sure, he'll come to fight. Joe will come to fight.
Well, how do you beat someone like Oleksandr Usyk? Now we've seen that what his skills do translate up to heavyweight. How do you beat someone like him?
Yeah, but I mean, he only got caught with it. I mean, he's never been on the floor, as we all know. He only got caught once. With a guy like him, you've got to take the fight out. It's not a question of. I mean, with him, if Tyson was going to fight him, Tyson's fastest. I think he's fast as him. He moves on his feet. I think he moves on his feet better than Usyk. That would be a very intriguing fight. I think you talk about Joe. Joe would have all the physical attributes that he's got, which is his size, his jab, and his strength. He'd have to just keep putting it on him, closing that gap. Not giving him the room, just closing the gap, keeping on top of him, and letting those shots go. Letting his shots go. What he wasn't doing, Joshua, he wasn't matching him jab for jab even. He wasn't even doing that. And, sometimes you battle it out. You have to battle it out. And there weren't a plan A, I don't think. There certainly wasn't a plan B.
Well, if you were advising Joshua, obviously, they've done a great job in terms of they have a rematch clause in place, as you would expect with a heavy A side like that. Would you direct him towards the rematch to get that instant shot to get all those belts back, or would you maybe steer him another way, maybe towards a Tyson Fury or Wilder winner, maybe towards a Dillian Whyte fight? What would you do with Anthony Joshua?
Well, I've got to be honest with you, I don't think he'll beat him again in a rematch. I really don't. What would I do? Look, he's either going to he's got three things to do. If he retires, he has the rematch, or he fights somebody else. And there are great fights, British, real big barn burners for him. You're right, Tyson. There's Joe Joyce and there's Daniel Dubois. They're big fights for him. And he can have those fights anytime he likes.
But it sounds like they are moving towards the rematch. I think he affirmed that immediately.
Well, who knows what they're doing? It's Monday morning. Who knows where they're at? And and he won't be fighting till next year anyway. It's as simple as that. He'll be out of the ring and he'll recover. And it was very strange. It was sort of he sort of give his title up, and I don't want to take nothing away from Usyk. It's like he just didn't. He didn't do what I would like. He didn't do what I would like to see the world heavyweight champion do.
Well, how do you think Tyson would have done against Joshua if that was the same Joshua on Saturday night? Maybe he would have been different against Tyson. I don't know.
I've always said about Tyson. Tyson would have his number. I think like Tyson. I don't think it'd go 4 or 5 rounds. Tyson. I think Tyson catches him. He goes. Tyson's he's a proper big heavyweight, fast hands. He's got a better jab than Joshua. I think he's bigger puncher than Joshua. He's certainly got a better chin than Joshua. 100% got a better chin, better hand speed, better footwork. He beats him in every department, and that for AJ just spells a loss.
Well, he's got his own business to deal with, of course, October 9th, live on BT Sport Box Office against Deontay Wilder. You're in touch with him all the time, Frank. Where's his head at right now? How are you? What sort of vibes are you getting from Tyson Fury?
Well, Tyson's in a good place. I mean, he weren't in a good place on Saturday watching that fight, but he's been very good. He's bought himself a property in Vegas, so he's living in there. He's basically, him and his team are in isolation. He's terrified of catching COVID again, but he's isolated himself. Obviously, there was a terrible moments that him and his wife and family had with their newborn baby daughter, but thankfully Athena's pulled through, and now mentally physically he's always in good shape, but mentally now he's in excellent shape. So we're just he's looking forward to the fight and getting it out of the way, and hopefully on the 10th we can be talking about what the next fight is. But he's got to get through it still. He's still talking a good fight. Wilder, he's talking a very good fight at the moment.
Yeah, no, he certainly is. There's some good stuff going around on social media, which I'm sure has been brought to your attention. Frank, it's I think my time's up. I think someone else has got you now. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Any final words?
No, final words. Let's do something later in the week. We've got loads of stuff to announce, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, Frank. Nice speaking to you. I'll speak to you soon.
And you.
Cheers.